on the one hand, and what the media depiction of them showed on the other. And I tried to steer away from presenting solutions, which seemed to me a little bit presumptuous on my part. But now there have been important new developments, which means in our case, important new opportunities. And if we don't exploit those opportunities, if we don't capitalize on those opportunities, they may be missed. That's the way politics is, and that's the way history is. There's a certain amount of order to history, but there's also a certain amount of political serendipity that just means chance. And if you miss the chance, a big opportunity is lost. And right now, there are, I think, quite significant opportunities to finally resolve the Israel-Palestine conflict. Not a perfect solution, and not one that's guaranteed eternal bliss, but still a reasonable resolution of the conflict, which will allow people there to go on with their lives more or less like the rest of us. And because those opportunities are now at hand, I've decided that I'll devote as much of my public time as I can to trying to suggest, number one, what those new opportunities are, and then number two, what's the most important, what should we do with those opportunities? Well, everybody in this room knows that there have been significant changes in the Arab world and the Muslim world in recent months, and that these changes are tilting in the direction of support for the Palestinians. In fact, Israel's two major allies in the Arab-Muslim world, or in the Muslim-Arab world, its two major allies, the two pillars of support for Israel over the past 30 years. We can't say those pillars have collapsed, but we can say they are shaking. The first pillar is Turkey, which has historically been Israel's most formidable ally in the Muslim world. And in recent years, and most recently the past year, the Turkish government under Prime Minister Erdogan has taken a verbally quite aggressive stance in support of the people of Gaza in particular, and in support of the Palestinians in general. I said verbal stand because it's not always clear with Prime Minister Erdogan the exact ratio between words and actions. But still, there has been something. And then most recently, with the revolt in Egypt, the Mubarak dictatorship was overthrown. It's still not clear, and probably won't be for a quite long time. It's still not clear where the Egyptian government is headed. Well, two things are clear. Whether the government likes it or not, it has to be more responsive to public opinion. And number two, that public opinion has very strong sentiments, very potent feelings, treatment of the people of Palestine. And to that extent, that the government has to be responsive to the feelings of its people, whether it wants to or not. In the case of the current military government, it's not always clear that it wants to be responsive, but it still has to be. Well, there too, Israel is having a very difficult time of it because its second major ally, Egypt, is wavering. Moving broadly to the international picture, the international community, judging by public opinion polls, has grown more and more disgusted, impatient, and frustrated with this enduring conflict. Israel's standing in the world has plummeted, judging by these public opinion polls. Every year, the BBC World Service, it does a survey of international public opinion. It asks the same question each year. It lists about a dozen or so countries, probably maybe in the order of a score, about 20 countries. And it asks people, do you think this country has had a positive impact on the world? Or do you think this country has had a negative impact on the world? And every year, the 4 countries which are universally regarded as having overwhelmingly a negative impact on the world are Iran, North Korea, Pakistan, and Israel. They have, by far, the most negative ratings of any countries in the world. And it says something that Israel would be grouped with Iran, North Korea, and Pakistan in global opinion. Even in countries where the Israel lobby is very strong, where the Nazi Holocaust is liberally exploited, and where the governments are very supportive of Israel. So you take the examples of Canada, which has a semi-lunatic government under this leadership of this man named Mr. Harper, Australia, France, Germany, and the United Kingdom. Those countries which are formally, governmentally, very supportive of Israel, you look at public opinion, extremely critical of Israel, remarkably so.